Now, after 2 weeks of use, the Pixel 10 Pro XL is the best phone that might not be worth it, and let me explain. Now, after dailying the Pixel 10 Pro XL, I will admit that it is in fact a pretty great phone, and there's no denying it. The camera is top tier, the software is smooth, and the battery life has been overall very solid for me. And it's safe to say that on paper, it checks almost every box that you want in a flagship. But here's the truth, after 2 weeks of living with it, I genuinely don't think it's worth buying right now, and I've got a few reasons why. So in this video, I'm not only going to share what it's actually been like using this phone day in and day out, but I'm also going to help you decide if upgrading to the Pixel 10 Pro XL makes sense for you or if you should just hold off. But before I do that, I would like to introduce you guys to my partners, Nordvpn. You know, lately I've been thinking a lot about online safety. With everything happening on the internet these days, from phishing attempts to just wanting to binge my favorite shows when I'm traveling, it kind of feels like you need an invisible force field around you, and that's why I'm excited to talk about my longtime sponsor, Nordvpn. Now, what makes Nordvpn stand out for me? It's more than just a VPN. Take their Threat Protection Pro feature. It's seriously a game changer. I've personally seen it block dangerous ads and even warn me about fake shopping sites, especially since it's very easy to accidentally click on something very sketchy. This feature was honestly kind of like having a digital guardian angel, and you don't even need to be connected to a VPN server for it to work. It's constantly scanning, even checking files that you download from malware. Plus, their dark web monitor is really good. It scans for your leaked credentials and lets you know right away so that you can take action. No more waiting to become a victim, and of course, the basics are covered. One click to be safer online, accessing your content from anywhere, and it's the fastest VPN out there. Plus, one account protects up to 10 devices, which is perfect for me and all of my tech. So if you're tired of worrying about online threats or just want to enjoy the internet freely and securely, NordVPN is a great solution. It's truly an all-in-one solution for online privacy and security, and you can get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan here at nordvpn.com/Naseem. You get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan, and there's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. So there's nothing to lose. Protect yourself online and go to the link in the description and comment section of today's video. Now, I want to make something very clear. No device is perfect, and after 2 weeks with the Pixel 10 Pro XL, I've got a few things that really bother me. And the biggest one is the price tag. Now, I genuinely hate that Google decided to jump into the $1,200 club with this phone. See, just a few years ago, a Pixel 8 Pro cost around $1,000. Now, suddenly, we're at the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and it's priced alongside the Galaxy Ultra and the iPhone Pro Max. And my biggest problem is that it doesn't really carry the same weight in the market. Here's what I mean. When an iPhone Pro Max or a Galaxy Ultra hits a year old, you'll still see it reselling very close to retail because the market is high. But when it comes to the Google Pixel, the market for them is very hard. I've seen last year's Pixels go from $600 to $400 to sometimes even $300, and that's pretty brutal when you pay top tier flagship money. And this is where it gets even harder to justify. You can pick up a Pixel 8 Pro or a 9 Pro today for a fraction of the cost, and honestly, they're still incredibly comparable phones. And they both have 7 years worth of upgrades, which means that most of the AI features from the Pixel 10 Pro XL will eventually go down to those models anyway. So if I'm the average consumer, I can grab a Pixel 9 Pro XL for half the price with nearly the same look, feel, and day-to-day performance. So I hope you guys can see why it kind of doesn't make sense to buy this phone for $1,200. And that's the part that really stings. For the average person, this math just doesn't make sense. And unless you're specifically after the very latest AI tricks for a few couple of months, the Pixel 10 Pro XL is an incredibly tough sale. So don't get at me in the comments. I do think this is an amazing phone, but the price truly kills it. And it's not about hardware or about the features, it's more about the value. Also, anybody who has paid attention to Google's track record, compared to iPhones or Galaxies, Pixels go on sale way more often. So even if you want a Pixel 10 Pro XL that bad, you can just wait a couple of months and get it for a cheaper price. I just honestly think in my heart, for the average consumer, under no circumstance is this phone worth the price. But alright, moving on from the quote-unquote mini rant, after 2 weeks of use, the Pixel 10 Pro XL still feels like a tank in my hand. See, Google used Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on both the back and the front, and it's paired with that nice polished aluminum frame. It still looks premium, and most importantly, I still like it. As far as weight, I never really felt like it was too heavy, but it was just enough to remind you that you're holding a flagship. And in day-to-day use, I've noticed a couple of things. The matte finish on the back has held up really well against fingerprints, which I love. And the only complaint that I had was the polished frame. it definitely picked up a couple of hairline scratches just from going in and out of my pockets. And also, let's not forget that the sides are a fingerprint magnet. Not deal breaking, but definitely worth pointing out. And as far as comfort, it's definitely sleek but a little bit slippery. I've had a few close calls where it nearly slid off my lap while I was sitting in the car. But besides that, I would say the overall build quality is still holding up really well and very comparable to my Pixel 9 Pro XL. Now, as you guys know, a great design doesn't really mean much if the screen that you're staring at all day can't really keep up. And with the Pixel 10 Pro XL, the display is where things really start to shine. The 6.8-inch LTPO OLED screen is phenomenal, and after about 2 weeks, I can say that it's one of the smoothest panels that I've used this year. Scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, or even navigating menus all felt seamless. And when it came to brightness, it still is holding up really well. I've used it in direct sunlight and I've never had to shade the screen or squint. The bezels are also noticeably slimmer this year, which makes the phone look more modern and immersive whenever you're watching videos. The fingerprint scanner has been consistent, the face unlock has been quicker than I expected, and both have held up really well in real world use. And I would say that the only problem that I had with the display is that I wish it had an anti-glare coating. Indoors, it does look beautiful, but under certain lights, I really do catch a lot of reflections that take away from the experience. And while the colors are accurate and natural, I personally wish that they popped a bit more. Like compared to my Galaxy S25 Ultra, this panel is just a touch less vibrant. It still looks nice, don't get me wrong, but if you're someone who loves oversaturated, punchy colors, you might notice a difference. And it's not something that'll blow you away unless you're looking really closely. But of course, a gorgeous display is only half the battle. It does need power to back it up. So how has the Tensor G5 and Google software held up after 2 weeks? Well, the G5 chip has held up pretty solidly over the past 2 weeks. For everyday use, from messaging to browsing to streaming to even snapping photos, it's very smooth and reliable. I haven't had any random crashes or freezing, but once I pushed it, that's kind of where I started noticing the limits. Call of Duty Mobile is still a bit laggy, especially when I'm playing it for a longer period of time. I'm getting a few dips in frame rates, not game breaking, but compared to something like the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, you definitely notice the difference. And it also warms up under extended gaming, though it never got uncomfortably hot. On the software side, Android 16 has been really clean and responsive. 7 years of promised updates also gives me a peace of mind that this thing will last for a pretty long time. And I'm going to be real with you guys, after week 2, I kind of slowed down on the AI features. Right now, I'm only using Circle to search whenever I see something that I like. And I would say that it's pretty addictive. I almost daily it now to look things up instantly. Gemini Live has been pretty fun to play around with. So yeah, performance has been fine for my day-to-day, but if you are a hardcore gamer, you'll probably notice that the G5 is definitely lacking when compared to the iPhone and the Galaxy. Now, performance is one thing, but let's be real, most people look at pixels for the camera, and this year, the Pixel 10 Pro XL setup gave me a lot to talk about. Now, the camera is one of the best reasons to buy a Pixel. Inside photos, they come out sharp with great color balance that doesn't look too artificial. Outdoors, the HDR is still unbeatable, and I've been able to shoot directly into harsh sunlight and still pull tons of detail from the shadows. I look pretty great too, especially with the ultra-wide field of view. You can actually fit friends into the frame without stretching your arm awkwardly. And at night, night sight is still one of the best things that the Pixel has to offer. The photos look crisp without being too overly brightened. And I was compared to the 8 Pro and the 9 Pro, they've genuinely improved. Stabilization works better than ever, and the low light footage just overall looks cleaner. And during extended 4K recordings, the ISO adjustments are still not perfect, but still, for casual shooting and social media content, the video quality is finally at a level where I can confidently say that Google is competing with the iPhone. Now, all those photos, videos, and AI features don't matter if the battery can't keep up. So here's how the Pixel 10 Pro XL has lasted me day to day. Now, the 5200 mAh battery has been very reliable. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been consistently getting 7 to 8 hours of on-screen time. Even on heavier days with gaming, filming, and editing, it made it to bedtime without me scrambling for a charger. Standby drain has also been surprisingly minimal. I left it overnight a few times and it only dropped down to 2 to 3%, which was pretty solid. And on lighter days, I could skip the night charging and pretty much charge it in the morning. And speaking of charging, this is where things were pretty good. With a 45-watt charger, I hit 70% in about 30 minutes, which is fine. The wireless charging at 25 watts is nice with the Qi 2 pads. And I will say that when it comes to housing wallets or anything else like an iPhone, it's very helpful. So yeah, the battery life has been very strong. The charging speeds are decent. And I would say that overall, battery is definitely one of the most underrated improvements. So 2 weeks in, here's the truth. The Pixel 10 Pro XL is a really great phone. The design has held up beautifully, the display is bright and smooth, performance is good enough for most people, and the cameras continue to be some of the best in the game. Battery life has been reliable, and the ecosystem, while not Apple level, is flexible and AI driven in ways that feel genuinely useful. But again, it's not perfect. The Tensor G5 can still stutter under heavy gaming. The shutter lag in cameras is still annoying. Charging speeds are decent, but not competitive. And the price tag, that's the hardest pill to swallow. And I'm just not gonna lie to you guys, I don't know who needs to spend $1,200 on this phone. So let me know down in the comments, you guys, if you own this phone, would you tell someone to wait? Or do you think that the AI features and the Qi2 charging is really worth it for the average person? Let me know down in the comments. Peace.